Welcome to this video series that's going to be creating a quiz game in App Inventor. And so you can see I've called this Prime Minister Quiz. And so I'm going to run through this basic one, and it's just going to be some basic questions about the Prime Minister, and then you can go ahead and modify this. Now, we're going to sort of introduce the concept of lists in this one. And so that list is sort of a data structure that holds more than one value. And in that way, we can sort of programmatically work through the list instead of having all new screens or new code all the time. We basically just access that data. All right, so let's see what we're going to do here. First of all, pretty simple. We're going to bring in an image. Okay, so I've just put an image in there. Before I do that, set all this, we're going to align everything to the center, okay? And make sure you give your image a good name. So let's just rename this as, well, we'll call it question image. And then we're going to put a spot where we're going to have the question, and so that will be a label, and I'll just put that right below. And so we'll rename that also question label. And let's just set the text there for, I guess, question 1. Now what we'll do is we'll grab an image. So I'm just going to upload an image here. So I'll just upload it here. And find it, I think it's on my desktop. Where's my desktop? There's desktop. Alright, just a second here. And it's just called... I didn't label it very well. I thought it would just true to, oh, there it is. Okay. So just uploading that. And then we can put that image in here. So my question image, true to, okay. There it is. Perfect. Okay, so we'll just leave that for now. One last thing that we'll place on our screen is a next button to allow us to go from one question to the next. And so just grab your button. We'll just put it below here. We'll change the text to next. You can change it up, make it fancier if you want. And we'll just rename it as well. And as you probably realized, it's important to name these as clearly as possible, because when you go into the block designer, you can't necessarily see what these are. Right? You don't quite know without the titles. Now, one thing I haven't done in the past is we've got this label here, screen 1. Not the best label. So if we come down, so click on the screen. I think we come down to the bottom, there's screen 1. And so we'll call this Canadian Prime Ministers, if it fits. Looks like it will. Good. All right, so there, we've got a nicer title on this now. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is actually go into the blocks and start doing some programming here. So in the blocks here, what we want to do is create a series of questions. And one of the ways you could do it is just create one screen for a first question, a second screen for the second question, and so on. Obviously, you're going to end up with a lot of screens, and it actually makes it programmatically more difficult in the end. The app is slower and things aren't as efficient. So we're going to all do this in one screen. And we're just going to have the picture change and the question change, obviously, as we go through. So what we're going to do first is create a variable. And so what we're going to do is initialize a global variable to, and we're going to change the name here. We're going to call it the question list, because it's going to be a list here. And so you can see right here, there is a list section. So we're going to set this to make a list. And really, we could add as many as we want. We've got 2 spots here at the moment. If you click on here, you can add another item and add another item and so on. And so we'll create a few questions here. What we're going to do is these questions are going to be in the form of strings. So they're going to be quotes. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put those in there. Now, I don't know the get off this here. Okay, there we go. I don't know what our subsequent questions will be yet. I haven't planned that far ahead, but I'm going to create a question for the first one. So who is Canada's current Prime Minister. So there is my question. Okay, and I've got like 2, so I'm just going to put things in here. This is question 2, just as well, 2 as a placeholder, and question 3. So a lot of times, programmers will put in just the placeholders because they know the content's coming, but they just need something in there. All right, so what we want to do is when, excuse me, when the game starts, it's going to start with question 1. So how do we get that to work? Well, under the control, where was that screen? When screen initializes. Oh, sorry, probably under screen. So when screen 1 initializes. So basically, when we start the program, what we want to do is take the question label, okay, and we're going to set that question label's text. So where is that? Set question label's text to, now this is a little bit different. Go back to the list here. We want it to set it to, so we're going to select the list item here. Now we have to select the list that it comes from, so that would be our question list. And I think we can just come up here, oops, somewhere, there it is. Get the question list. So we're going to grab that. And then we have to figure out which question we want. Now this is different in different programming languages. The index value in MIT App Inventor, 1, this is considered index value 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so each of these questions is given a value. Okay, and their index value is just sort of the order that they're in. Now, a lot of programming languages start at 0, so this would be actually 0, 1, 2. In MIT App Inventor, it's just this is 1. So when the game begins, we're going to go to question 1. Now, obviously, you could randomize that, and that might be something later on, so that the game doesn't always play in the same direction. Now, you could go and try this here and see how it works. You should be able to get that first image up on your screen there. And I'll just let you try that. So what we want to do next is get the next button to work. So we want to be able to click on the next button and move down to the next question. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, you're going to click on that button. So when you click on the next button, what's it going to do? Well, let's just recopy this. So I'm just going to take this, Control C, Control V, put that there. And then, yeah, I could just click on this and make this 2, right? Now, obviously, that's probably not the best thing, because then you'd have to, what happens when you click the next time? Well, would it go to 2? Do you have to click another or create another one? So there's a little bit, you want to just sort of progress through the index number 1 by 1, sort of sequentially here, assuming that's what we want to do. So what I'm going to do is create another variable. Okay, so a global variable, and we'll call this one index, and we'll set that to 1. Okay, so actually I'll just grab that one out there. So it's going to initialize to 1. All right, now what we want to do is instead of it, going to the index and hard coding that, what we're going to do is grab this. Where's the, come on, there we go. So we're going to get the global value. So the first one, it will be 1. Okay, now on the second one, we have to do a little bit more work. We're going to set that value. So if you click it once, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to set it to the original plus 1. So, whoops, I'm going to grab a plus button here. I'm going to set from the original, so get the original one, and then I'm going to add, got this, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to add 1 to it. So now it becomes 2. Now this here just has to disappear. Okay, and basically, I'm just going to copy this. Oops. Gotta get rid of that extra one. There we go. Oops, delete. Okay, so that lets us click on the next button, and it will increase the value by 1. So we're up to 2, and then that pushes that 1 farther ahead. Okay, and so it runs through this step by step. Now, can you figure out what might be the error that you would get here? And we'll have to deal with this in the next video. So if you said, and be honest with yourself, if you said that, hey, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, if I click next, it's going to look for number 4. And computers don't like when things don't, it's looking for something and it can't find it. It can't sort of deal with that unless we programmatically deal with it, which we will a little bit later on with a conditional. But at the moment, right, we're going to run into problems. Okay, so we're going to continue on with this in the next video. We'll end this one here, but I think we've made some pretty good progress.